Hello, John.
Hello, Oliver.
If there's one thing people don't like paying in Ireland, it's the TV licence.
Or income tax. I can understand their knowledge, because if one looks at the Bible and all things in that, tax collectors were considered not the best type of people to be involved with. They were regarded as sinners. Now, but the subject matter here is they call it the TV licence, but I suppose the proper name for it is the broadcasting licence, because while the TV, in this case, in this country, is the radio, television, RTE, that are the benefit from the broadcasting licence. Now, it's quite expensive in some ways, at €160 per annum. Now, when you reach retirement age, you don't pay that, because it's one of the advantages in some ways when you get old, that you're not earning the type of money you would be when you were working. And so therefore, in their prudence and in their wisdom, the governments allowed people that were retired to get a free TV licence.
Yeah.
So it doesn't affect me in that sense, but from the point of view of what they intend to do with the broadcasting licence, because I'm feeling that it could be part of it for the infrastructure in the way that we're able to receive the TV programmes that we get, and from different channels, and also perhaps something to do with the mobile phones. They have situations, mass and all the rest of it, and this could be part of what they call the broadcasting infrastructure. So if it's €160, I'd love to know what does the state broadcaster RTE get, because they're the ones that are always advertised and talking about people being prosecuted. Now, it's a very bad way to go about business, to talk about prosecuting people. And I understand that up to now, the post office has been the people that have collected they call it the TV licence, but we call it a broadcasting licence, and they've done it very successfully, because the rate, according to figures, is only 12% that are not paying the TV licence. And sometimes when you listen to the advertisements on the RTE TV and radio network, you'd think it was a lot more. And so talking about inspectors calling and hauling you off to be summoned and fined a nice lump of money, and perhaps jail too if you don't fork out. So they're putting a lot of punishments in front of people. And now, apparently this government that has brought in some very divisive pieces of legislation, intend for every household to have to pay this licence. So that's going to be astronomical if that's the case, and it seems a very intrusive business of this government to interfere with people who don't look at TV, because they say they can look at it on the computer. But not everybody is looking at things on the computer, they're up to other things. So I don't know where they get their figures from that people can look at TV other than at a TV screen.
I suppose, look, there's a few gripes people would have. One of them is that most of the presenters are paid ridiculous money. I mean, Ryan Tubridy is earning over $500,000 a year.
Well, you see, the state broadcaster pays their staff, the broadcasters as such, the presenters, vast sums, and I think the staff as well in that organisation are in receipt of vast sums of money higher than the average, because the fact that they're working for this, what would they call it, people that can pay what they like to staff and managers and all the rest of it. So if they were paddling their own canoe, doing any of this business of a licence fee, they might be more prudent in what they pay staff, presenters and others, because there's other organisations with presenters and TV3, for example, and other TV stations, and there were independent radio stations, and I doubt very much if their staff, they're probably getting decent salaries, but they wouldn't be getting the astronomical salaries that the state broadcaster pays, so they'd want to cut their cloth to suit the measure.
That's I suppose the other thing people would have a gripe with is censorship, and that they might have a political agenda.
Well, you see, now you're talking, because the state broadcaster, in many people's opinions, reasonable people, they're in receipt of this licence fee, a portion of it anyway, perhaps not the whole lot. But I hope they're not in favour of the whole lot, because they're getting too much money then. But they don't reflect the Catholic and Christian ethos that the people by and large practice. Quite a percentage of them, Catholics and Christians of other denominations, and as a matter of fact, they could be classified and are classified by a lot of people as actually anti-Catholic and anti-Christian in what they report. They don't seem to report positive elements in that Christian religion, and I think because the population are by and large try to practice that outlook on life, the Christian and Catholic philosophy, spiritual way, they'd want to refer to that. So here now they want more money to carry on the way they've been carrying on, when really they should be held to account for the lack of balance. We've been talking about Google earlier, that they need a balance in that area, and certainly the state broadcaster certainly needs a balance. And there's matters that the report, for example, I just mentioned this, considering we're talking about a TV licence or a broadcasting licence, they reported President Trump as being unwelcome when he visited where there was mass shootings in Texas and some other part of the country. And yet when I looked at another channel, it was quite the opposite of what they said, that he actually got welcomed visiting the hospitals from the staff and the people affected by the tragedy of this unprovoked mass shooting by some deranged individual. So for them to report that some Democrat presidential candidate is in receipt of about 2% of the electorate, and the Democratic Party have come in for a lot of criticism because of their policies of abortion and all that. They call it pro-healthcare, but it's abortion. And so they don't report facts.
No.
And this is the slant that they have, so one has to question the sort of way they operate, and they want to be held to account, but they're not going to be held to account by a government that has brought in such divisive legislations of what they brought in by way of the marriage referendum and the getting rid of Amendment 8, which results in this abortion on demand. So these are policies that this government produced, so they're not going to be standing up for the Catholic ethos that we respect.
I think you mentioned there 12% of people don't pay for the TV licence.
That's the percentage that the post office have maintained. But here's the funny thing: this government that doesn't respect Irish the Irish identity, in my book, is going to put out the licence fee for this broadcasting licence or whatever you call it out to tender. And the post offices that have provided a great job have complained about this because it'll lead to loss of revenue for post offices and perhaps more closures. So, I mean, what are they at like? What sort of policies are they adopting that's not in the interest of the country?
The other thing as well is some people might complain about the 12% particularly, is the payment options are not great. I mean, if you could pay quarterly, I mean, I think
the post office had a system that you could pay weekly or monthly.
Yeah, but you'd have to pay in advance So in other words,
Oh yes,
you used to pay a year in advance to get the following year's TV license.
Oh, I see.
Yes, yeah. It wasn't the case of like pay it this week and then pay it the following week and you still have your license. No.
And then by the end of the year you'd have the license fee paid. Well, that seemed to be a more reasonable way to do it. But you see, this is where you have a monopoly situation with a straight broadcaster, and that's always not too good. It's supposed to be a balanced, and so to cater for the interests of people that might otherwise be catered for in a commercial operation. But RTE has a commercial element and have ads there as well as any independent broadcaster. So and the programs that they produce don't cater for the spiritual development of people. It's quite self-evident that they don't, that they've gone down that secular road, which we were talking about earlier, in regard to the Google and all these, Apple and all these people. So, I mean, why can't they, why are they not held to account by even the leaders of the church? They've taken a vow of silence as far as I see, and have not made any comment about this lack of balance on that station.
Thank you very much, Sean.
Thank you very much.